Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this slightly delayed, my apologies, slightly late running morning webinar, daily webinar here for Tuesday, the 8th of November, the Bull versus Bear webinar. Steve Miley on the call for trade day. So welcome all. Go for our usual run through in here today. We'll take a look at the calendar, what we've had, what we've got coming up. We'll take a look at some articles from the major newswires, the fundamentals, and we'll take a look at the charts. It's going to be a fairly brief webinar actually today. There for two reasons. One, I'm under a little time pressure, but also not much going on, to be quite honest. Focus on midterm elections, focus on Thursday's CPI data, European data in here this morning has been fairly light. And nothing to really shout home about in here, and nothing that's really impacted markets. Markets been fairly quiet in Europe all mornings thus far. And then going into today, very light as well, going into the US session as well. So nothing in here of any significant note. Obviously, we had the midterm elections going on. Five things you need to know to start your day. Midterm rush. President Joe Biden, Democrats face a tougher challenge holding the House and the US Senate on the eve of choosing midterm elections. So I think we'll win the Senate. I think the House is tougher. So, it's going to be interesting. We're going to watch that roll out as we go through today. Obviously, for you guys in the US, you've got a better handle on this probably than we have here over in Europe. But nevertheless, certainly be watching that and watching as we go forward. Trump indicating on November the 15th, big announcement, no doubt. His indication that he's going to be running for president again. Crypto markets have sold off significantly in here today, and that is because of concerns about one of the large exchange, FTX, and potential insolvency issues. Although it is all very much rumored, it's pulled the FTX token down, and also seeing a broader sell-off in cryptocurrencies. In stock worlds, though, things are fairly quiet. US stock futures are fairly quiet. European futures a little changed overnight. So stocks futures slightly higher in here this morning. Hopes for a post-midterm rally. Watching a gridlock. Watching for gridlock. Obviously, gridlock in the US government is seen as potentially good for stocks, so we're certainly going to be focusing on that as we go into today, right? And as that comes through today, a lot of the headlines are going to say US stocks in higher, Meta jumps as investors. So Meta actually rallied on the back of announced job cuts in here. So we saw Meta / Facebook higher, although Apple was lower. After iPhone production issues potentially coming from out of China. There's the crypto article in there. Market implications from US midterm elections. I haven't had the chance to run through this one yet. I'm going to post this in the chat. If you want to go and follow that link to this Reuters article, could be useful in here. Potential market implications from Tuesday's vote. So with the Democrat and the White House, the best market performance has come when Republicans held either the House or Senate. So we know that a split Congress, a split between the presidency and the Congress is usually more positive for the stock market. So that's kind of, the market's almost hoping for some paralysis on the political side. Paralysis is good for the markets in here. So we're certainly going to be watching out for that as we go through today. European stocks mixed. China optimism about a move away from the zero COVID policy in here. Is fading, so that optimism fading. European stock futures fairly quiet in here this morning, and focus as ever on the midterms. And if we go and take a look, so you see European stocks in here this morning. So even though we've got like FTSE's down a tenth, the DAX is up 0.3, and the CAC, the French index, is pretty much unchanged. And if we look to yesterday, we had a decent rebound in here. Meta helped us higher. Just to really follow through from Friday, it was a fairly latter session follow through. We opened up and sort of sit and went nowhere really for most of a lot of the session yesterday. An afternoon rally into the close saw us out about 1%. And just over 1% on most of the major indices, and we're slightly higher, about a quarter of a percent up this morning, with the Nasdaq following through to being 0.5% up. So nothing really major there. And then the Fed tool in here is still sitting around this. It's been oscillating between 55.45 either way in here, between the 50 and 75, and we're almost bang on. Look, we're 52.48 at the moment. So the Fed tool in here not really telling us anything we've not seen before. So that brings me to the chart. So I say it's all going to be really about the midterms in here today, but stocks going into it fairly positive. So we've got, another. This is the. Let's actually go start on from the S&P on the daily. So we had a little boost higher in the afternoon session and higher again in here this morning. So just nudging higher. We've got a succession of higher highs, higher lows. We'll see that on the 15-minute chart. So continue to this push higher. We did look at this trend line yesterday. The market did just cut through that trend line just around the open, but then we were sideways, didn't really act on that breaking of that trend line. And then eventually we did take out the peaks we mentioned here and here. We did take out that retracement level, the 50% retracement. There we're moving towards the next retracement at 61.8. That's up around 38.42. And there's kind of this breakdown level in here that we had from back last week. So that kind of is a potential upside target today. We are dipping in here at the moment. I think potentially it's a buy opportunity, but it's all very much going to be anything we get coming through, which we're not going to obviously get until much later in the day, potentially into tomorrow, regarding the midterm elections. But any kind of rumor in here, obviously the market's going to react to. No real data to drive us today. My view is still slightly higher in here, carrying through from yesterday. And same for the NASDAQ. We managed to, late in the session, nudge not only above Friday's high, but also Thursday's high, and then a dip and a rebound, nudging higher again this morning. And it's the same sort of thing in here from the NASDAQ. We were hesitant below this 38.2% retracement level, which is just above 11,000. We marked all these levels, this peak in here, the peaks from Friday. We were fading there on the open yesterday. We nudged the trend line on the open, and then the market didn't react, and then took out those resistance points either side of 11,000 in here that we had. The retracement was just above 11,000, and then we've dipped and rebounded again in here and making new highs again. We've got now the next retracement up here. Is sitting around the 11,120, 130 area, and then above there the next one is all up at around 11,245, 250. So those are certainly upside potential targets going into today. I wouldn't be surprised though if we get a fairly quiet session until we get any kind of real kind of news flow regarding potential for the midterm elections, which is going to be, as I say, I'm guessing we're going to get them very much later in the night. So probably not looking for too much to happen today. It could be easy to be a holding day. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a holding day today, and then maybe looking for a latter session rally, maybe into the afternoon session in the US. We'll see a push higher, similar kind of price action I'm probably expecting that we saw today, but it could easily go the other way. So, today's going to be a matter of being a little bit more flexible, I think, in here going into today. Let's take a look. I say it's going to be a briefer webinar. There's not really too much to add. Let's take a look at gold and oil. Well, gold in here, just so we had a slight dip with that big Marabuzo candlestick on Friday. A slight dip, a real non-day yesterday, just hovering, and then we've had a dip and a rebound in here this morning. If we go to the 15-minute chart, you'll see even though we dipped just below this low in here from yesterday, the market then quickly rebounding in here, rejecting anything more negative, and we're already, if you look at this kind of grind down that we've seen in here so far this week, we've pushed back above that trend line. So for me in here, upside pressure still for gold. And if we take a look at oil, oil did make a new high. We'd previously gone up and just nudged above this peak in here from on Friday, above the peak from mid to early October. And then we had a bit of a failure candlestick today. So oil setting up a little bit more negative. And then we kind of nudged down towards yesterday's low. We had a little test there of yesterday's low. Remember, we had that 50% retracement. So we rallied off of yesterday's low. We did flirt with the trend line. Then when we broke the trend line there, you'll see the market's accelerated lower. We have just undercut the low there. I mean, just undercut yesterday's low, which was 90.40, and we hit down at 90.37 and then held at that 50% retracement that comes in at like 90.32.33. So we've kind of held that retracement, kind of held yesterday's low and rebounded. We're dipping lower again. I think you have to wait and see on this one in here. I mean, if it gets back above this little counter trend line on oil, which is going to come in above the current rebound high, so back above the rebound high. The rebound high is at 91.38 from the last hour or so, and then the trend line is coming in around 91.55. So up through there, it looks more bullish. If it takes out the low in here, certainly if it takes out that retracement below 90.30, say, it looks a lot more negative. So I think those are your breakout parameters for oil. Apologies for a brief webinar today, guys. When there's not much to say, there's no point in trying to say it. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to wrap it up. Good luck through the midterm elections in here, guys. And I say probably looking for a relatively quiet session. But I think certainly for the early session, try not to get chopped up in here. Keep your powder dry because there will be opportunities, no doubt, as we get breaking news. Potentially it's going to come through the night, right? Potentially even through into tomorrow morning, maybe into the European session tomorrow, as we get news on the results from the midterm elections. Yeah, I'm going to wish you a good one, guys. Take care out there, and I'll be back for you with another bull versus bear webinar tomorrow. Bye.